Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to part 13 of the TOS Enterprise build. Today we're going to be working on prepping for paint, getting any sanding, any puttying, and doing some surface primers and stuff like that, getting that all set up. So let's take a look. Well, we got this all sanded down. I did the surface primer. I did the perfect plastic putty first, and then the surface primer. You can see how much the perfect plastic putty covered. It was, even though it was like a tight little seam, there was, must have been a little bit of divot between the top and the bottom. And I always sand the plastic first before I fill. Just makes the putty not have to work so hard. There's something there, I'm not sure. It just must be a divot in the plastic. Like, see there's a little where the surface primer filled that little divot. You can see areas there where the surface primer still is, but really I mostly sanded most of the surface primer off because the plastic putty did a really good job of filling everything in. But yeah, I put some window maker in these smaller holes. I might even do it again because some of them kind of shrunk. And just go over lightly and scuff a little bit of those look much better there. This looks much better. And again, I might, because where I let the window maker sit there as a little bulb, you kind of get a little bit of a, I wipe it off with my finger. And these look much better. These were really bad here. But like I said, they just weren't filling the hole all the way. They kind of looked like a clear plague that was too small for the hole. And also they were sitting back. And I don't want them to sit back too far. And I might, I might even just hold off and do the next one before I do my clear coat. I do want to get this all marked up. These all look good. I hit some of these down here with the same situation. Probably could use a fine Scotch-Brite to clean up, like I said, because you want to let it sit there like a bulb because it's going to sink in. The windows are sitting a little high. Yeah, all these look much better. I hit all these. Like I said, it's mainly the small ones, but I do see some of these bigger ones that could use a little bit of it in it too. So that's pretty much ready to get ready for paint. I'm just going to mask all the windows. And that's why I wanted to get some of these a little more fuller on the edges, so when I put a little mask over it, it's a little nicer. And I went over the whole ship with Scotch-Brite. I like using Scotch-Brite because it's not as aggressive as steel wool, and it doesn't leave as many of like those little metal filings that fall off them. I'm even brushing right over that. That can get dull because it's going to get hit with the clear with no mask on. So this one fell in, but I did put some window maker, and then I put tape over top and then sat it like this so it sagged down and it filled it up. Now I just got to make the dome, but I'm going to wait to the very end, probably when I go back and check all the windows. I'll hit that all at the same time. I wish I had some of that solar res where you can do that and you just let it sit for a minute and it rounds itself over, and then you hit it with the UV light and it instantly cures. That would be great. I know that's what Boyd does on from Trek Works on a lot of his windows too. Not all of them, but he said it's fairly expensive, so I'll have to price that and see what that is, because that looks like a good tool to have, just like getting this perfect plastic putty was a good thing to get. And I think I'm good not to put any putty in here. That the glues worked really good. Those thin, extra thin glues, and it actually glued, even fit together really nice and tight. So I think we're just gonna skip that. Yeah, because that glued down really nice. Those thin cements work great. But yeah, she's ready to paint. We just gotta mask her. That's where we're at with this one. You still see my handprint again. It's probably because it's starting to sweat. But that's where the saucer's at. These we glued last night, and I put a coat of perfect plastic putty over them. So they're ready to sand, and then I'll do the, then I'll hit it with the Tamiya surface primer. Brush that on to fill in any little slight seams, especially in this area. I know we're going to have, it's looking good now, but we'll see how it sands off. Because one, I'm not sure if this one or the other one had a kind of a little dimple, but I did sand a lot. Sanding a lot while it's just plastic helps a lot, because if you have like these domes, you know, you're going to have one that's raised a little more. And if you know, just fill that in with putty takes some time. But if you sand it nice and smooth, the plastic smooth, and just ask the putty just to fill in the little crack, it makes life much easier. So that's those. They're ready to go. What I'm trying to do is get this thing all ready to paint all at once. And the main hole, you can see I put the surface primer on there. Oh, that made that seam look really good. I love the surface primer. Yeah, those now match. Because I glued this piece onto this, so it was a little tighter, and then on this side, but it made that seam look good. This seam looks really good. There was a bad gappy seam here. That looks really good. I think it was pretty gappy from up here. But not horrible, but still gappy. The top was nice. The top actually, little gaps from about here where those three lights are to all the way to the end, but that filled in nice. The neck was always nice, because that glued on good, and then the thin, extra thin cement really tacked those in. Some of these round windows I'm going to hit with some window maker, because I still see some. You probably have to do to a lot of them. This one, that one. But yeah, we're probably going to hit all those. And then I just ran around the pylon, since it's okay to see a gap a little bit, or the remnants of one. I just hit it with the surface primer. The thin, extra thin cement filled it in pretty good. So this is getting ready to sand and get in the same position as the saucer. And these sides still look good. I just got to hit them with some fine sandpaper. Those seams still look good. That was the gappy one right there. But yeah, that's where we're at. I just figured I'd show you what's going on. I covered up the two that actually had the pegs, and we'll just clean that out. I didn't hit it with the putty as much, but I went over it with this paint. It should clean off. Yeah, and then I can seal them. But I wanted to make sure to fill in all the gaps around it, so it was just easier just to paint right over them. We'll just come in here and just clean them off. It'll be just fine, and the other one will stick down in. Hopefully it fits that hole. The hole doesn't look very good anymore. Can't tell why. It's the way it was molded, I guess. Yeah, but see how nice all that came out. That's why I wanted to use the Tester's putty back here. That's strong and melts. It'll make a nice bond there. That edge looks good. I made sure I sanded that. Made sure I sanded that so the tail piece fits in there nice and tight. Well, hello everyone. I went through and painted, or sanded, everything, and then I get a whole Scotch-Brite over all the parts. Even underneath, there was a little pinhole there, so I hit it with some of the surface primer. I just got to scuff it. And I wanted to get this a little more, less dense, like this side. But it's soaked right in, so I might have to do another application. This is the Tamiya surface primer. You can actually thin it out. It's fairly thick, but you can thin it out. It's a lacquer base. You can thin it out with a little bit of lacquer and spray it like the Tamiya fine primer that they have in a gray, and I have a white. As you can see, it's fairly thick. It dries quick, being that it's lacquer based, and it really gets rid of like little imperfections. Like I could throw putty in here and then wait. Although the fine plastic putty dries pretty quick, but this you're able to really work into like holes, because sometimes you get a hole and then you just putty over it. Careful where I grab. You like putty over it and then the hole pops again because you couldn't work it down into the hole. Like this will dry so quick that you can sand it again, and then. But yeah, you can also thin this out if you need to spray it, so it's great for that too, which I might do on this ship. I almost forgot to put this on. I was looking to see if there's any parts that could be put on for the, the painting of the gray hull color. So I saw that it has these little detail pieces here. So these little detail pieces here that go on the side thingies here. Glue those on because they get painted the same color. I could get something down there too. There's a little hole there. Didn't see it. You can't see it from the top. Just a tiny hole. Actually, I'd probably just fill it with this and not even have to sand it. It's another wonderful thing about this stuff. It'll level out fairly good. Just got to be careful because I think it's... No, it's the other side. I'm just spreading it out so it dries a little level, and I can just go in there with a little bit of sandpaper since I got to hit this and that anyway. Beef it up a little more there. And it'll dry in, so it will shrink because it is a solvent-based primer. But yeah, I almost forgot to put this piece on. I'm like, oh, this ring's got to go on here. They're saying it's all color. And then I was like, uh-oh, they wanted you to put that on when you put this together. And yeah, I didn't. I'm like, am I going to get it on? Like the refit, you can still get this whole piece comes off with the deflector array, and you're golden, you're fine. It slides in there. But these kind of curve in a little bit. And yeah, I just got it in there. I kind of brought it in like this and snapped it down in between these. These two had to like a little bit, so it was a tight fit. And then once I got in there, I got some glue around it and glued it in. And then I used that surface primer around these edges and a little bit there, because some reason I was thinking that would be covered, like that's a lip that this would going over, but no, that's just a step down. You got this angle and then a step, and then you're on these. So I had to putty that up, but I just used that surface primer. It filled up that little, it just had one little gap right there. And then I used that surface primer to gap in all these parts here, and where these parts got glued down, you had that little, it recessed in. So it had a little spot there and there. You have like a bump, bump, bump where it fit into the hole. And it filled those in really good. Just that, no putty. I could use the perfect plastic putty because that's really nice. You thin that down with a little water, you can almost brush it in there. That's what I'm probably going to end up doing in the gaps where the shuttle bay comes in. This side's not bad because it got tight and I could glue it. This side I'll have to, and what he does, Boyd over at Trekworks, he said he just mixes up, he calls it his slurry, and brushes it in there, and it dries pretty flat and smooth since it's thin enough, but you need it thick enough to fill the hole, and then he just goes in there and airbrushes, and that's my plan. That's why I already painted this dome, the shuttle bay doors already. Try not to get any dust in there. It's hard. But I had more of those like square windows where they weren't fitting in there right, or they're coming in a weird angle, or way they curved the plastic. I don't know. You would get like one side would have like an open, yet it's fitting tight down there and fitting well, and it's forward, so it fits well. It's just, I don't know. So that solved that just by hitting it with Windowmaker. Like that one had it, and now it's not as bad, but I think I'll hit it with some more Windowmaker later. Yeah, so what I'm doing is just going around with a panel liner and just getting rid of a lot of the excess, because it holds, this little applicator holds a lot of paint. And I'm just dabbing it on it, and it goes whoop right around the window sills. Like perfectly. Now it's a thin paint, so like I said, I'm going to do a couple applications just to excuse me, just to make sure. Like those up there look great. I'm really happy with those up there. I just dabbed it on the window and it just went and flooded it. You know, and if you oops a little bit, it's so thin it'll dry level. Just to make sure we're getting that darkness that I want. These I think were fine, so we're going to leave those alone. To make them all look the same, I hit them. I have a light in this pylon window, which isn't Canon, but I don't care. Sometimes you got to make them your own, and I wanted to show that these can light up as well, since this cluster here is black. Well, actually, in those two. I figure maybe someone's down here below doing some engineering things, dealing with what's going up there. I thought about maybe on the other side doing these two, but it was so much easier just to hit this one on both sides. But I'm not getting light bleed here, I'm getting it on the other side here, so I'll have to hit a little black paint here. I saw last night when I turned it on. Same on this side. And I might want to hit a little bit here, because where those things that hold the pylons, that whole plastic mechanism here, and all those little bars that give it support, you can't get paint in there, and plus you didn't want to get paint in there because you wanted a good glue surface. So, but it's not bad. I think even the gray would hide most of that, but I'm just going to hit it lightly anywhere. And I think somewhere here, which is the same thing with the neck support part. I don't know if I saw any going up this, and I definitely have to hit, even though I did paint this black with several coats, I'm still getting a glow right after these, right on each side of these things. And it goes maybe about half circle, and it kind of tears off. Here too, so I'm going to have to hit all this with another black coat. I think that's, the main ones is this circle and these. I think the rest of them will kind of get hidden because I'm going to do a regular gray, which I'll probably use my which I made my base coat out of. This is a rainy day gray, a little more on the darker side, but I think I added some white to it when I mixed up the hull color. And then I got my actual hull color here that has the green. Let's see what it looks like. It's been a while since I mixed it, when I mixed it up with this. And I love the way it looks on here. You see that hint of green and it's perfect, but it's not overbearing. You can definitely see the green, yet mostly it looks gray. But you see that hint of green, which is perfect. Alright. But yeah, that's what I mixed up. Seal that. But yeah, I'm going to do most of my main coats with this, so I don't waste a lot of this. And then I have some for touch-ups. Because to try to mix that exact again, not going to happen. But there's a little different way of spraying the cracked acrylics because they don't cover, since you have to get them thin. Now I'm going to use my big gun for these instead of my airbrushes, so I don't have to thin it as much because it's got a big needle. Or I'm like at 4 and 5 millimeters needles, and I think it even goes higher than that, what I have for those, the big gun. Where my airbrushes, I do have 5s for my airbrushes, but I'd sit there and have to keep refilling the pot, where I got a container like this I can fill. It's like for spraying cars. And it gives you a better spray too. So yeah, since you have to thin them out, it still doesn't give you, even with the big gun making it, you know, you don't have to thin it as much. It still lays a thin covering because it's a water base and thinned out with water, and so it takes at least sometimes 2 coats to even not see the under what you're spraying over top of. But I don't have any dark windows down here. We got them all down here, so that's why we're still on camera. Let me go through that. I still got some nasty gaps here. They're not going to matter for the black ones because they're so blacked out. And I believe this is the only one on this side. Correct. Got one here, and then that decal goes bonk. That's it. I'm going to keep drying, checking, see what they need. Looks like I need a little more up in here. This is a much easier way to blacken these windows out. Not that I would only do this, you still should block them out on the inside. Like I said, this has got a lot of thinner in it, so it's not thick paint. But the little bit glowing out I was seeing out of them, I'm hoping will go away. And once I get done with this, satisfied with this, I'll go through the fun of masking everything. Yay. Well, I guess it's better than doing Aztecs. And I like doing Aztecs, it's just very time consuming. You can take half a night to do half a saucer. Well, I got orbital dry docks masks for my Enterprise A, where the refit, I got Aztec Dummy, where you kind of have to pull each little section off and then put it down. Where orbital dry docks, you can just weed what you don't need out of the masks, weed all the parts that are going to be your positive or whatever, and then you put, which I thought about trying with Aztec dummies too, but which you put down a double-sided tape or transfer tape, and then you lift it up and you put it down on the ship, and then you squeegee it, and then you pull it off, and hopefully your Aztec masks stay down on. So at least you can do them in each one whole triangle, because it has the grid. And I'm thinking about maybe doing another one of these, maybe in the kind of making my own one up, I guess, because I kind of like to do one with the pilot with the little antennas on the SARD collectors, like the first two pilots, but then yet do the mirror version, but yet put Aztecing on it, because they do have an Aztec kit. I think Aztec Dummy has an Aztec kit for this. But I wouldn't do it in colors. I think I would do it where I would spray a flat all around, put the Aztecs down, or no, probably best be to do a gloss. At least where you're Aztecing. I think it's mainly the saucer. Put a gloss, spray that gloss down, put the Aztecs down, and then do the flat, the whole ship, and you would have that difference in sheen, which would look cool. And in some ways you wouldn't see the Aztec at all, but then you get in the right light, you would see certain panels shine because they're glossy, and I think that would be cool. And I'd like to do this and that, like that. But this one I want to try to keep more like the original 11-footer, even though I've done certain things different. I think this is supposed to be green, and then I don't like the green. Like, who would have a green light? I don't know. I've seen some people do this red. The pictures I see of the original one from the Smithsonian, it's yellow. It's the amber. And that's why I went with the amber back here. And then sometimes you don't see this one a different color at all. It's just that normal warm white. But that's the other reason why I'm going to use this kind of as like a primer. And then do my light coats, or do my actual hull color in my last two coats, just to give it the color. But the base will be that. These two, they just look that way. Maybe they'll fit the regular dots, I'm not sure. Hope we have enough of them. At least up to my finger. You guys are being stubborn. I'm just trying to remember which side is this adhesive side. Feeling like that side. No, it wiped off way too easy. It's not really way to tell, so bye. Either side's not sticking. Why I don't like when they flip around on your knife and stuff. It's like I need to remember what side is the adhesive side. There we go. Do one or two more, and then I'll let you guys off the hook, and I'll go back to doing this. There it is. It's like I can't see it. It slid off. Get the knife underneath it. Now I got two on my finger. Try that one, that wood one that didn't want to stick would stick to my finger. One more dot. At least right there. We got several more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just the way it looks. But yeah, I'll let you guys off the hook, and I'll keep trucking away on these. It's pretty much just lining the square box with the square box. But until next update, see you soon.